One of the biggest mistakes new founders make is to try to come up with $1 million idea. They sit down with a notebook and think, what is one app that nobody has ever built yet? Well, that's the wrong idea, because the majority of the big companies didn't start with an idea, but rather they started with a problem. They started with someone getting frustrated. Here's what most people exactly do. They decide that they want to build a startup, and they sit down and start brainstorming. Maybe it's a new AI app, maybe it's a fitness app, maybe it's a brand new social media, it doesn't matter. Well, the problem is, they build a solution for a problem that never existed. That is why most beginner projects fail before getting a single user. It's like inventing a key without finding a lock that it opens. It's not because they're badly built, it's because they solve a problem that nobody needs. Think about some of the biggest companies. Airbnb didn't start because the founders thought that let's build another travel website. They started because they realized that during busy events, hotels were packed and they were expensive, and they realized that most people wanted to rent out extra spaces in their house. Uber didn't start because founders said that let's build just another taxi app. It started because people were frustrated not knowing when the taxi would come. Even Notion came from frustration of using separate apps for tools, notes and documents and journals. Did you notice the pattern? Nobody started with an idea. They started with a problem, a frustration. Then they built a product. That's why when people ask, how do I find a startup idea? They are actually wrong, because they need to find the problem first, not the idea. So the better question is, what problems keeps frustrating me that hasn't been solved well yet? So where do you find these problems? And honestly, the internet is full of them. There are always people complaining about something. Go to Reddit, search for things like, I hate, is there a tool that, why is this so difficult? People complain about everything, and that is exactly what you want. Read YouTube comments, look at X, join Discord communities, and pay attention whenever someone says that I wish there were a better app that did this. Because that is not just a complaint, that might be your next startup idea. The goal isn't to copy someone else's idea. The goal is to understand what people struggle with and build an app based on that idea. Here's something that completely changed my mind about how I see startups. Instead of asking, what's a good business idea? Ask something like, what annoyed me today? Maybe an app was confusing. Maybe in school, gym, or in a community, you find a problem that everybody complains about. Write those problems down, and over time, you will have a list of ideas that might be your next startup. And real problems are much more valuable than random solutions somebody makes as a startup. The next $1 billion idea for a startup probably isn't sitting in someone's notebooks. It's sitting in someone's frustration. Because the best startup ideas doesn't actually start with an idea. They start with someone saying, I'm frustrated doing this. There must be a better way of doing this. If you like what I do, you can support me by subscribing or following my Instagram. Thanks for watching.